我们敬礼传承祖师。
Let's pay homage to the lineage gurus, homage to the Venerable Mang Liaoming, homage to Master Sakya Zengkong, homage to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa, and homage to Master Dubden Dorji. Homage to the three jewels of the altar. Homage to the main deity of the good practice today, Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva, with great vow. Sumo, Danzan Katso, Duten Siddhi, all Dhamma masters, Dhamma educators, Dhamma teachers, Dhamma lecturers, Dhamma assistants, and directors of temples and chapters, all disciples present here and over the internet. How do you do? Good evening.
你好，大家好。愛してる。사랑해。Hola amigo。quiero mucho。스코인。一番。気持ちいい。주미。야비。プリンプリン。こんばんは。那今天呢是
Today
第一次要开讲这个文宝结经。
It's my first exposition on the Vimalakirti Sutra.
傍晚的时候
And this evening, in the sky, there were strokes of thunders rolling in the sky.
那山庄彩虹山庄那边彩虹雷藏寺
And at the Rainbow
那边也
Temple,
响雷。
there were also thunderbolts there.
西雅图雷藏寺上空也响雷。
Also, in the sky above the Seattle Lizang Temple, there were also thunders.
在西雅图要听到雷声，好像比较困难。
It's pretty difficult to hear thunders in Seattle. They're quite rare.
特别。
So it's very special today.
老天爷放鞭炮。
So the gods were putting on the fireworks or
那刚刚我们是同修地藏王菩萨。
Just now,
这是我的本尊地藏王菩萨。
practice Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva, and he's my yidam.
中国大陆四大名山
of the
安
4
徽九华山
famous Buddhist mountains in China,
是地藏王菩萨的道场。
the Mount Jiuhua in Anhui Province is the spiritual center of Siddhigarbha, and the Mount Putuo is the spiritual center of Avalokiteshvara, and then Mount Utai is in Shanxi is the spiritual center of Manjushri, and then Mount Ermei in Sichuan province is the spiritual center of Puxian, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. So Mount Jiuhua
开创这个道场的人姓金。
is belonging to Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva. The spiritual center was established by someone named Kim, and his name was Jin Chao Jie, or
Korea, South Korea,
and this family name Jin or Kim is very numerous in Korea or South Korea. So this person, Jin Chao Jie, was a Korean, or came from Korea, or the Shilla kingdom. So he went to Mount Jiuhua in Anhui province, and so that became the spiritual center of Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva.
那里的地藏王菩萨本来就有他的肉身菩萨，金巧姐的肉身菩萨
There was a physical bodhisattva, Jin Chao Jie, right there.
我是常常讲
I often said,
金大中啊，金正恩啊，可能都是金巧姐的后代子孙。
The Kim perhaps were the descendants of Jin Chao Jie.
说不定了，这个很难讲。
Who knows? It's hard to say.
因为中国跟这个格利亚本身是连在一起的。
Korea is right next to China.
传到中土。
And the spread of Buddhism was to the Middle Kingdom or Middle Plain, and then it went to Korea, and then to Japan.
那地藏王菩萨，我们知道，
Choshan.
地藏菩萨本愿经有这一本的经典。
We know about the
Siddhigarbha
Fundamental Vow Sutra. And by reading the sutra, we would know about all about a great bodhisattva, his conduct in his whole life. They are all very marvelous.
我们今天晚上要讲的维摩诘经。
So the sutra that we will expound tonight, the Vimalakirti Sutra, is also talking about the conduct of all bodhisattvas.
那么这个，我每天晚上都有招请地藏王菩萨。
And every night I would invoke Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva.
那地藏王菩萨，他帮我很多的忙。
Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva has helped me greatly. I invoke Golden Mother, Amitabha Tathagata, and Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva. Also, Kuan Yin, Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, and Mahastama Prapta Bodhisattva. I invoke them every night during Bardo deliverance. So they are my primary Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for the Bardo deliverance. For the past 3 years, I perform Bardo deliverance every night.
那么金宏盛会
啊。It's a grand occasion.
我们先讲一个笑话吧，好。有一个人呢，去一家公司面试销售，
someone went for an interview of a salesperson in a company, and it went well. And then at the end, the boss gave me a form, and they were all in English. And this person was really bad in English, but he really wanted the job. So he just read it as he liked. And he was totally, the boss was confused and looking at him. So he thought that, oh, maybe the boss did not know, so he just read it randomly. Finally, the boss said, for salesmen, we really need someone as shameless as you, so you can start tomorrow. Grandmaster is the same too. I don't know how much I understand. And I don't know how it is. And it's the same with my exposition of sutras. I just say it as I like. So if you understand, you understand. If you don't, you don't. Whether you understand or not, it's none of my business. So I just speak and you listen. So that's the spirit of sutra exposition. Let me tell another joke. The school has a new principal, and the new principal was very forward to instill the new concept and a new management. So he installed a statue immediately with the right hand holding a book indicating should be diligent in study, and the left hand is holding a small bird. Is that it's to fly high without restriction. And the principal was very confident that this meaningful statue can give inspiration to the students. So he conducted a competition to name the statue. And then after the selection, the one with the highest vote read that what use is going to school, but in Chinese. It's a playful Chinese. What bird use? It's only meaningful in Chinese. When Grandmaster was in elementary school, I was always last in class. In junior high, I stayed in class twice. In the freshman year at the junior high, I stayed in the same class twice. I was in the second high school. And because I stayed in class twice, that I was transferred to the what's it called? It's like a special school. And like a technical school. So, and I became first in class because all the students there were all students that were behind. And luckily, I was a little bit brighter. So in that class, I was first of all the students that were behind in class before. And from that, I gained confidence. And finally, I was accepted at the Kaohsiung Technical High School, vocational school. And because I didn't have any money, but when I was at the Kaohsiung technical vocational school, I was always first in class every year. And because we did not have any money to go to college, so finally I went to the military school that was free and even got salary from it until I graduated with the bachelor's degree. That's my study. And the part that I am most proud is because I stayed in class twice in junior high school. I'm most honored for it. And now I'm studying Buddhism and established True Buddha School. So think about it. So all that we studied before was really useless. So if you are behind in class, you know, I use my own example to encourage you that I was first in the class where they were all behind before. There were two special classes that were attended by all students that stayed in class, were collected together. And then I stood out from all those, so that's why staying in class actually helped me. The teacher asked me from 1 to 0, 10, which one is the scariest? And Xiaoming said 3. And this teacher asked why. Because my mom always said, when I count to 3, you're dead. Now we'll do question and answer. From Malaysia, Lianhua Jiazhen. Your disciple, Lianhua Jiazhen, pay homage to Grand Master-Lu, the Buddha. During the webcast on February 22nd, 2022, during the webcast of the Tiger Head Vajra Homa, during the Mudra transformation, I saw with my physical eyes, I saw Grandmaster eyes emitting a very extraordinary light. and became the tiger head Vajra. And then it returned to Grandmaster's original face. However, when I viewed the recording again, I could not see it anymore. So this was the miracle that Grandmaster showed. So does it mean that the Tiger Head Vajra showed it for me? And do I have affinity with him? And should I practice her as my protector? So maybe in the recording it did show the tiger head, but because it didn't look good, they changed it to Grandmaster's face. So because the tiger head Vajra showed herself to me, does it mean that that means I have affinity with her, and should I treat her as my protector? Anyone from Malaysia here? Does anybody know this person, Lian Hua Jia Zhen? Anybody? Nobody. It seems like she's not a man. The character Chinese Jia, like Jia Yi. Oh, a city in Taiwan, or Kaki in Japanese. And Zhen, it's like the character in Paul. This is just explaining the name, the character. Should be a woman, right? Because the name seems so feminine. So yeah, you should just practice her Dharma practice and become a tigress. Because very few people would talk about the male tiger. Most people always refer to the female tigers or tigress. And because Lian Hua Jia Zhen is a woman, yes, you can practice and become a tigress. But let me consult. Because she had the vision that Grandmaster transformed into Tiger Head Vajra. Should she practice her Dharma? Yes, she can. The answer is that you can practice Tiger Head Vajra as your protector and also as your yidam. So that's the answer. Now we will start on the exposition of the Vimalakirti Sutra. The Vimalakirti Nirdesa Sutra, which is also called the Sutra of Inconceivable Liberation. Now we will talk about chapter 1, the Buddha verse. Today we will just talk about the title. Chapter 1, Buddha verse, or Buddha universe, or like Buddha Setra, which Buddha field, or Buddha realm, or Buddha world. We'll talk about these two words first. Many people in their exposition of the sutra will not explain this word, Buddha-verse. I have seen many people talking about Vimalakirti Sutra. On this chapter 1, Buddha verse, they usually talk about the causes and conditions of the Dharma gathering. How did it all start? Of course, it was Sakyamuni Buddha. In the city of Vaisali. So, Vaisali, in the garden called Ambra Garden or Ambra Garden in the city of Vaisali. At that time, the Buddha was accompanied by 8,000 great monks or ordained people, and also bodhisattvas for a total of 32,000. And they were, so these two Chinese words does not mean knowledgeable, but it means that the gathering of people. So in the chapter on the Buddha verse, the reason was the Sakyamuni Buddha at the Ambra Garden in the city of Vaisali gathered many people. That's how it started. Most people who explain the sutra would talk about it this way. They will not mention about the Buddha verse itself. Only very few people will talk about the Buddha verse, or Buddha land, or Buddha field. However, Kumarajiva was mentioning Buddha verse, chapter 1. So what does the Buddha verse mean? Let me ask you, Buddha Sutra, what does it mean? Does it refer to a particular Buddha verse or all the Buddha verses? Like Buddha verse, Buddha universe. So anyone can explain it? Please try. All the knowledgeable and virtuous ones in the audience, all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Bhikshus, Bhikshunis, Upasakas, Upasikas, and all the audience. Anyone can explain the Buddha verse? No one is raising their hand. Everyone is dumbfounded. They're like a wooden chicken. Anybody is brave enough to say anything? The pure Buddha verse. It's the same. It doesn't explain.
好。哦，是由佛带领菩萨修行的地方。
It's a place where the Buddha leads the bodhisattvas to cultivate spiritually.
修行的地方，等于就是一个地名了。
So it's the name of a place then.
佛国的英文呢，就是 Buddha Country.
In English, it's called Buddha
我英
country.
文是很烂的。
My English is really
那
bad.
个有人跟我校正，佛国是什
Someone
么
corrected me.
？Buddha Land.
They said that it
我以
should
前
be
常常
called
讲
Buddha
西方极
land.
乐世界。
In the past, I often say the
Very happy.
Sukhavati as
Buddha. Western very happy Buddha country. 我是这样子讲的，按照这个英文。
That's I would say it in English.
这是我英文烂的地方。
That's how bad. That's how bad my English is. Ambassador.
麦克风，人家要记录的。
谢谢师尊，师尊是我们的最大的激励哈。
Thank you, Grandmaster.
每次提到一本新的经问我们我们赶快回家就拼命的去看大藏经哈。
Every time Grandmaster is asking on the new sutra, I would read as much as I can the Tripitaka so that I can answer.
佛陀的法海实在是太深。
I cannot provide any answer because the ocean of the Buddha's teaching is truly vast. So Kumarajiva, when Kumarajiva translated Vimalakirti Sutra, why is the chapter 1 is called Buddha verse? And since Grandmaster asked, let me try to answer.
在外萨里那个原文是外萨里，所以玄奘把它翻成费舍离哈。
So the Buddha was in the Vaisali, and Shen Ching translated as Vaisali. But many people use a different translation of Chinese. And then there were many children, or many youths making offerings of the parasols that was transformed by Sakyamuni Buddha to become a huge parasol that covered the whole universe. And second, in the process of bodhisattvas cultivating to become Buddhas, and generating the vows, if they are very pure, and then the Buddha land that they attain would be very calm. But Sariputra, it's not flat and plain. But the Saha world is up and down and all sorts of things. So was that because the vow that Sakyamuni Buddha made was not that pure? So that's why the current world is not perfect. And the Buddha knew what he was thinking about. So are the sun and moon not pure? They are pure. So if the eyes were blinded and cannot see the sun and the moon, are they the faults of the person? Yeah, it's a fault the person cannot see them. So my Buddha land actually is very pure. So, and then he transformed one for Sariputra to see, and it was really nice and clean, and then transform it back. It's because your mind is impure. That's why the Buddha land that you see is not pure. But if your mind is pure, that the Buddha land you see would be plain and simple.
第一品佛果品就是
So Kumara Jiva was trying to tell us in the chapter 1 that the Buddha used this opportunity to tell people that if your mind is pure, then the Buddha land that you see would be pure. Thank you. I'm wasting time a lot. So the ambassador has read the Vimalakirti Sutra and he's read all the commentaries as well. So he has read all of the Vimalakirti Sutra. And what he mentioned were all written in the Vimalakirti Sutra. That all the parasols were made into one parasol. That was written in the sutra because ordinary people cannot see the Buddha land or the Buddha verse. So Vimalakirti, so the Buddha transformed because they have hindrances so people cannot see. It's also written in the Vimalakirti Sutra. So all that he said were part of the Vimalakirti Sutra, but I'm only talking the Buddha land, Buddha verse. Because the Saha world has mountains and waters and everything. But let me tell you what's the real meaning of the Buddha land. The Saha world is the Buddha land or Buddha verse. It's written in the Vimalakirti Sutra. Is something that most people can imagine. That the Saha world is the Buddha verse. Isn't it mentioned in the Amitabha Sutra that the human world is the world with the 5 contaminants? How can it be a Buddha verse then? And Vimalakirti said, the Saha world is a Buddha verse. Because Vimalakirti asked me, you say that in the West, the Western realm of the utmost bliss, Sukhavati, and in the East there's Abhirati, the marvelous joy, pure land, and then Avalokitesvara, Yuan Tong, pure land, Siddhigarbha, Veichui, pure land. And Vimalakirti asked me, where is your true Buddha universe? Or true Buddha world? I understand Vimalakirti's mind. He asked me, where is your true Buddha world? And I said, my true Buddha world is the Saha world. The Saha world is the true Buddha world. And Vimalakirti asked me again, how big is your true Buddha world? And I answered, true Buddha world is not big and it's not small. Each and every place is a true Buddha world. There is no place there is not true Buddha world.
也可以讲
And we can also say
有真佛世界，也没有真佛世界。
there is true Buddha world and also there is no true Buddha
因
world.
为没有真佛世界，才叫是
Because
真佛世界。
there is no true Buddha world, that's why it is called the true Buddha world.
罗摩诘告诉我，
Vimalakirti told me
这个就是佛国。
that's the Buddha verse, chapter 1.
我告诉大家，今天如实
I'm
尊
telling
坐
all
在
of
这里
you
说法，
that Grandmaster Lu today is seated here and give Dharma teaching, and I'm giving Dharma
后面呢
teaching.
有地藏王菩萨，
And behind me there is Siddhikarma
再
Bodhisattva.
上去有瑶
And
天
then
经，
above there is Golden
再上
Mother.
去有五方
And then
如来，
further
还
above
有
are
释
the
迦牟尼
5
佛，
Dhyani
还有
Buddhas,
药
Sakyamuni
药师如来，
Buddha, Medicine
有
Tathagata,
七佛世尊，
and there are the 7
瑶池经，
Buddhas,
有地藏王
Golden
菩萨，
Mother, Siddhikarma Bodhisattva,
有周围有很多的大菩萨。
and then surrounded by many great Bodhisattvas.
另外在远的地方
And then further away,
有五大金刚，
there are the
八大
5
明王，
great Herukas, the 8 Vidyarajas or wisdom kings,
另外还有天龙八部、
and more the dragon beings
甘达波
in the 8 divisions,
甘达波、
Kantabo,
阿修罗、
the
夜叉、
Asuras, Yaksas,
这个摩吼罗、
Gandharvas, Maharas,
迦罗迦罗频迦、迦罗频迦、
Kalavinkas,
迦罗罗，有天龙八部，
Chivakas, dragons, heavenly gods, devas.
目前我们现在的讲经说法的地方，
And
还
then
有
at the
比丘、
current
比
moment,
丘尼、优
the
婆塞、优
place of
婆
the
夷，
Dharma teaching, there are also bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasakas, and
这就是佛
upasikas.
国。
So this is the Buddha verse.
今天讲的维摩诘经是讲
So today,
大师所
in
讲
the exposition of the Vimalakirti Sutra,
清净，
like the ambassador said,
佛国
it's
的清净
talking about the purity, and the Buddha verse or Buddha land is pure.
你心里清净，
If your
佛国
mind
就
is
清净。
pure, then the Buddha verse will be
你
pure.
心里清净就是佛国，
If your mind is pure, that is the Buddha verse.
走到哪里都是佛国。
Wherever you go, there's the Buddha verse.
所以，我们讲的佛国并不是在很遥远的地方啊，像阿弥陀经
So the
所
Buddha verse
所
is
讲
not at a very far away place, like
到西方
stated in the Amitabha
过
Sutra.
10万亿佛土
From here to the west,
啊，极乐世界在哪里？
over
今天维摩诘经
zillions of Buddha verses.
佛国是
But
处处都是
today,
佛国。
stated in Vimalakirti Sutra, everywhere is the Buddha verse.
娑婆世界
The
也
Saha
就是
world
佛国。
is also a Buddha verse.
不能
Buddha
讲
land.
说你是在娑婆世界。
You cannot say that
所以
you
当
are
时
in
啊
the Saha world.
释迦牟尼佛在毕亚离城
So
安摩树园，
at that time, the Buddha was in the Amra garden in the city of Vaisali and gathered so many
其实
knowledgeable Dharma companions So that was Buddha world or Buddhaverse. So today we are in Redmond City of Seattle, Washington State, USA, at the Lizang Temple. So right now, this place is a Buddhaverse or Buddha land. As long as you have pure eyes and you have the divine eyes, the wisdom eyes, Buddha eyes, what you see, all the Buddhas are right here. All the Bodhisattvas are here too. All the Arhats. And all the Vajra and Dharma protectors are around us. So this current place where the Dharma teaching is going on is a Buddhaverse, a Buddha world.
Hey, 可以吗？我们感谢师尊的激励，还有提出说，别的人讲《维摩诘经》都没有提到佛果，真的是非常的。
That Grandmaster mentioned that other people will not talk about the Buddha land. When Grandmaster was talking, I thought about why is this called the Buddha verse? That Vimalakirti in his spiritual cultivation, like we long for Buddha lands that are far away, that are very desirable. But the Saha world is filled with greed, anger, desire, ignorance, and all the bad things. And in such a place that we can practice the perfection and to attain Buddhahood. So, in order to attain Bodhisattvahood, we have to come to Saha world. So, we can cultivate spiritually when the sages and the mundane beings are there. So this is the place where we can attain Buddhahood. Let me tell everyone. You know, Vimalakirti drank alcohol. He drank alcohol. That's in Cantonese.
维摩诘啊，他是有喝酒的。喝酒就是佛果。
So drinking alcohol is the Buddhaverse.
但是哦，我告诉你哦，你不要以为说师尊讲这句话，你就去喝酒啊，因为喝酒就是
think because Grandmaster said this statement that you go drink, and you say that drinking is Buddha land. And if you drink and you became out of control, then you would go to hell. You don't know what drinking alcohol is. If you drink until you became drunk, or you became messed up, or you still drive, and then you got in accidents, and that you will go to hell. So, but when Vimalakirti drank, that's nectar, that's sweet dew of the Buddhaverse. So you don't drink alcohol, but you're being drunk by the alcohol.
比丘、比丘尼、优婆塞、优婆夷，全部要重罚。
So all the monks, nuns, and lay practitioners, if they drink and they become out of control, then you will be punished. Because if you don't know how to drink, that's a precept. But if you know how to drink, then the alcohol is a sweet nectar. So that's how we will explain the Buddha verse. Vimalakirti drank alcohol. What is that called in ancient times? The red district. The current term is the red district.
青楼啊，青楼讲青楼好了，有没有去？
Like the brothel.
我告诉你，有。
Did he go to the brothels? Yes, I did. Yes, he did.
这是戒。
That's a precept.
我告诉你，那里是佛国。
I'm telling you, that place is the Buddha world.
佛国品呢？娑婆世界是佛
Chapter
国，
on
那
the
里
Buddha
哪一个
verse.
地
The
方
Saha
不是佛
world
国
is
啊？
the Buddha
你们
verse.
紧张什么？
Is there any
那里
place
也是
that's
佛
not
国，
a
青
Buddha
楼也是
world?
佛国。
Even the brothel is also a Buddha world.
维摩诘是超越的。
Vimalakirti has
他能够
transcended.
在那个时候啊，心
At such
而无欲
time,
望，没有欲望。
he had no desire. Without any
你
desire.
能够心清净，
And if you're
你到了
able
青楼
to keep your pure mind or
是
heart,
佛国。
and you go to the brothel,
你
that
以为
place
女
is
人
a
就是
Buddha
很污
verse.
秽的、污浊恶色，
And you think that women are
污浊
dirty,
有五漏，女人有
and
五
they
漏，
have the 5
那是很
filths,
得体的。
5
你以为这样
leakages
子
which are dirty.
就产生分别心。
And if you think that way, then you
我告
have
诉你啊，
a discriminating mind, or a mind of discrimination.
佛土、佛国，
The true Buddha
你到了
verse
青楼去，
is when you go to the brothel.
讲妓院比较难听的，到
If
青楼，
I
青
say
色的楼好听。到青楼去，
prostitution, in Chinese,
到红灯区。
literally, it's like the
红灯
green
区去。
building,
新加坡是红灯，有红灯区啊。
but
红
we
灯
also
区
call it the red district.
你
Like in
超越了，
Singapore, there also exists a red district there.
你心清
But if
净，
you transcend it and your heart mind is pure,
那里就是佛国。
then that place is a Buddha verse.
你心被污染了，
If your heart
那就
mind
不是
has
佛国。
been contaminated or
维摩诘
tainted,
讲，
then that's not a Buddha verse
处
anymore.
处是佛国，
So
大佛世界是佛
Vimalakirti
国，
said that
包含了
everywhere is a
所有
Buddha
的
verse.
酒
The Saha world is a Buddha
Woman,
verse, including
wine
the wine, liquor, alcohol, and woman.
全是佛国。
They are all Buddha verses.
这个是非常超越的，所以这本经，我先讲佛国2个字，
This is very
跟别人所
transcendental.
讲的是不一样的。
So in expounding the sutra, I like to explain the Buddha verse first. This is different from others. Everywhere is a Buddha verse, including the Saha world. And the Saha world includes wine, woman. If at such times you can still be in a state of unborn endurance and immovable, that at any time you can be immovable and unperturbed and in unborn endurance, like many monks and nuns that return to household lives. The monk got married, and the nuns got married. Those are also Buddha verses. How come? They ask their own heart mind whether they are unmoved. Vimalakirti had a wife, the goddess who scatters flowers. And she was a noble bodhisattva. The bodhisattva of the supreme ground. If you can master it, then that's a Buddha verse. If you have not mastered it, then it is a contaminated evil world. As for Grandmaster himself, Grandmaster has attained the non-leakage of the body, and you still need to train to reach the non-leakage of the mind, which is also called the complete non-leakage. And I have stated this, that for one who has complete non-leakage, he can do anything. And before then, you need to abide by the precepts in whatever you do. This is extremely crucial. The precepts, whether you're bound by the precepts or not, if you have reached the complete non-leakage, the state of immovability, and the state of unborn endurance, and you have such fruition, then whatever you do, you're not bound by the precepts. Because in the Buddha verse, how can there be any precepts? You're already in the Buddha verse. There are no precepts. The precepts are to be applied to the mundane beings, to the populace, to the mass. That's what I know about chapter 1 on Buddha verse, or Buddha world, or Buddha land. Like money, the three things that can delude people: wealth, sex and looks, and name and fame. These three things are very tempting, deluding people. If you do things for the sake of wealth, looks, or sex and fame, then you're just a mundane being. However, if you don't think at all about wealth, looks, or sex and fame and name, whatever you do, that's the Buddha verse. Now do you understand what the Buddha verse or Buddha Sutra is? No one else expounds Vimalakirti Sutra this way, only Grandmaster-Lu.
这个老法师啊，这个很多老法师讲维摩诘经，
elder monks expounding Vimalakirti Sutra, they did not talk about the Buddha verse. And they thought that this is talking about the reason of the Dharma gathering. And so the key here is that the Saha world is a Buddha verse. The Saha world is a Buddha verse. What time is it? 10. It's about time. So today I'm just explaining this word, Buddha verse. So Vimalakirti told me, since you said that true Buddha world is the Saha world and the Saha world is true Buddha world, then you're qualified to expound on Vimalakirti Sutra. Only Grandmaster-Lu can expound Vimalakirti Sutra. And other people, they just explain the words or the meanings. They just explain the meanings of the sutra according to the words, the meanings of the words. But they don't know what the Buddha verse really means. But in the eyes of the great master Vimalakirti, is there any place that's not a Buddha verse? The place where you drink, the green building, the red district is also a Buddha verse. From the highest level of nobility and high officials to the lowest, the common people, they're all Buddha verses. All sorts of life happening in the Saha world too. As long as you abide in the immovable ground, everywhere is a Buddha verse. Akshobha Buddha, or the immovable Buddha. So the other epithet for Akshobha Buddha is the immovable Buddha. And Akshobha Tathagata is from Abhirati Buddha verse, or the Buddha verse of the marvelous joy. And Vimalakirti, great master, the primary origin of the great master Vimalakirti was Jinli Tathagata of Abhirati. He had a wife, and his wife was the goddess scattering flowers, a bodhisattva of the noble supreme ground. Don't think that she's just a goddess, that Vimalakirti's wife was just an ordinary goddess, just that she was scattering flowers in the heavenly realm. But she's a bodhisattva. And her level was the same as Vimalakirti.
这个思想，维摩诘经里面的思想，是超越时间跟空间。
So the philosophy of the Vimalakirti Sutra transcend the dimensions of time and space. People don't understand what transcending time and space is without time and space. That's why I can have direct dialogue directly with Vimalakirti. He was from 2,600 years ago. He lived, he was an elder in the city of Vaisali, the great master Vimalakirti. And that was 2,600 years ago. But he can have a dialogue with Grandmaster anytime. So he breaks apart the dimensions of time and space. So he's in the realm of Abhirati. He's the Jinli Tathagata. So he transcends the space, spatial and time dimension. Everywhere is. So you want to listen to the sutra exposition about this Buddha verse? This is Buddha verse. This is how Buddha verse is. The Saha world is Buddha verse. Today, the Saha world is a Buddha verse. When you go to the pub, that is also a Buddha verse. When you go to the brothel, that place is also a Buddha verse. Because you're unperturbed, you're immovable, you're at the immovable ground. Non-leakage in the body, in the mind. Xiaoming rushed to the seller of the pet shop. Sell me the dog. A thief, the dog that you sold me. And last night a thief stole $1,000. And the dog just completely ignored it. But the seller said, well, because he belonged to a wealthy man, like billionaires, so $1,000 is nothing to him. The husband spoke in his dream, and he called on the name of his ex-girlfriend. The wife was angry and woke him up. And asked him, what dream was he having? Why did he call on his ex-girlfriend's name? And the husband was afraid that of the wife being angry. And he said, oh, I saw the magic mirror, and the mirror asked, who's the ugliest woman in the world? So just now I was talking about the bubble tea. This is a joke about bubble tea. So the grandson always wants to drink the bubble tea, and it's been for 2 months every day. So the grandpa couldn't stand it anymore, and so showed him a picture. And then from then on, the grandson never wanted. So the photo was of a sheep pooping, black, the black thing like in the bubble tea. 我们预备灭吽。